Okay, guys. Hey, thanks for stopping in and watching the spread with AKK. All kinds of classics. Thank you so much for the comments, for clicking that subscribe button, and for ringing that bell. Okay, today in this episode, we are chopping the 1930. We're taking 3 inches out of it. It's been a little bit of a pain, in my brain to try to get this thing kind of fingered out because I did not want to scrape my head on the headliner. So it it worked out really well. Keep an eye on this thing. This is the big chop and the beginning of the kind of the finish work. We're kind of over the plateau of the body fabrication. So enjoy.
Well, here we are. We got quite a bit of the back done. That's all 180. Now I need to guide coat and take that to 3, block it with 180. It says all at 80. Block it with 180 with the guide coat. Finish the ribs and finish the front. So I'll go to the front now. This stuff is just a skim coat. It's nothing. So again, then guide coat 180. And guide coating the whole daggone thing with probably I use 240, and then spray it. All right, back at you. Front is 80 grit. I just have that left to do now, which goes pretty quick. You're just blocking it out to cover the sand scratches for the most part. I got this one little spot, and it looks like he's a bubble. So I might have to just do a dink, because that's where it's at. Anyway, the rest of it, even that, just feels really good. I got a little bit of, I'm going to have to get some, a little bit of a, come on. My mind is just mashed potatoes right now. Glaze. This is going to have to be just a little bit of glaze here because I'm bridging this all into here. So we'll glaze that. This side came out really good, except for right there. It's a little glaze. Get the top scratched up, then come after it with 180. That was a strong day for me. So, and then I got to run around, and I did actually catch as I was doing some of the things. I did actually catch there was one here and one here that I got, and one here that I got when I had just a little bit of extra, or right there, when I had just a little bit of extra mud, and I blocked all those out. I finished off this outside corner, so it's really looking and feeling very, very, very good. So we'll get her in the primer tomorrow. I got meetings tomorrow, but outside of those, we should get her in. Get her in. It's only going to get sprayed from there up, for crying out loud. But I want it to be ready. I want it to be ready to paint. You know, scratch out a few checks, a couple coats of surfacer if necessary. It'll need surfacer because there's way too much body work here. Surfacer, and then go to town on the color. So should be ready to store away for a few months while I get to that. Those parts should be here any minute now. Time to go eat. Well, just sprayed on a coat of epoxy primer. You can see it drying back where it's touching the mud and the metal. But she looks good. She turned out good, and that's easier to look at when it's not, you got spots on the metal and spots on the mud, so the absorption rate is different. So once she's dried out, though, give us a better picture. But it looks good. Looks good, and now I can jump on the the engine. So I'm going to jump off of this and let it sit for a little while. Continue thinking about this back end and how I can get that straightened out. And then I can start, this is all, I got a little bubble on the other side of the door, but this is all pretty well just block, But I'm still thinking about the chop, right? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 inches. Just bouncing off the walls thinking about it. Don't know yet. It's got to be, in my head. But, it's got family and friends that say, hey, don't do that, But coming along. Just thought I'd give a quick update. Been getting a very small, annoying drip. Would see it each day, and upon inspection underneath, I saw it. Well, there's the pinion. You see that slinger. So you can't really see the seal because that's covering it. But the drip was coming. When you're looking underneath, you could see it following that and down the side and on the floor. So I knew it wasn't the O-ring in here. So I pulled it apart. I marked everything so that I can get it put back together. Hopefully not replacing the crush ring because I drew a line up here, the threads, the nut, everything so that I can put it in the exact same position to get the exact same result. I want to take this out, stuck my screwdriver in. I can't find it now. Right there. Right there. This thing wasn't even fully engaged, you can see the paint line there. About 1/8 of an inch. It wasn't fully seated in, number one. Number two, it wasn't leaking past the seal. The seal's in great shape. It was leaking on the bottom. The seal wasn't fully inset. Springs there, the condition of the seal is perfect. It's the correct seal for a 9-inch. Can't believe it. It wasn't fully put in. So I just got the work to use a sealant, fully seat it with a sealant because most of it's scraped off, obviously, and start over. I did not assemble this. I purchased this assembled. How frustrating. I'm not going to work with these guys anymore. Hey guys. So today's the opportunity. I went up to the machine shop and they had to get rod bolts. I told them the big block rod bolts for the cross. They purchased big block rod bolts, but the threads were about 40 thou. The rod bolts will work, but the threads ended about 40 thousandths beyond the rod cap. So they had to order washers. International used a 60 thou washer. And so they ordered those, and that has been the delay. The cylinder head spring pockets are done. And so I can pick up the heads today, and there is no drip at all. So that's resolved. Oh, and it's filled. That's all filled. Took some time and taped off 3 inches, a 1-inch piece and a 2-inch piece. here, and now I'm going to run around and start tack welding the doors to the jambs and begin cutting the top off because I just can't wait. Because it's time for that. So that's where I'm headed to now. We'll keep you posted. Hey, good to see you. Or good to speak to you anyway. So this is the cut area. Tack, tack. Tack, tack. Every seam. I just cut this off of the tin snips. I was using a ribbon, a long piece of sheared 16 gauge, and I just got to tap those down so they don't cause blood. Same thing on this side, all the way around. And then because this is a suicide door, the hinge is here and here. Of course, this could move, so I grabbed one side, did the same thing above and below the cut, or the two cuts, obviously, so everything stays together when I come back to weld, to tack it all and finish weld it all together. So there we have it. We are now in a position to start ripping the lid off of this creature. So that's the next step. All right. I don't know how many phases there are going to be in this particular project, but I do know phase 2. Phase 1 is taping phase 2. Now, I'm not completely dismantled. I just rolled around with the cutoff wheel. So now, of course, when I stick the Sawzall in to get the stuff that I can't reach with the cutoff wheel, I can relieve it. I can relieve it. I can get it popped up. You can see, I'm going to stick my hand inside here. There was a little bit of stress there. I mean, and that stands to reason. You can see it's over here and under there. Kind of similar over here, but under a little farther in, where this one is out on the corner. This one's a little farther in, but I'm taking the stress out of it. Everything else appears to be pretty good. I mean, I'm not cut off. Everything has a little bit of material in it. Everything has a little bit of material in it. Whether it be the backside, however deep my cutoff wheel went, backside of the post, something, or inside structure, just simply because of the width, because of the depth, and the cutoff wheel ain't going that deep. And that's good. That's good. As far as I'm concerned, that's good, because it gives me the control to stay on the line all the way around, so I get a little more precision, minimize the amount of gaps that I'm going to wind up with after I cut, after I set him down. But at this point, going really well. Got everyone cut, and now I'm going to jump on the old DeWalt Sawzall with a metal blade and start zipping. I'll bring the lift up because I'm a lonely guy. My wife said she'd help me, but she's gone. But I'll bring the lift up and grab it underneath a couple of spots. I'll put the pads on, those guys, so that I can screw up and just touch, wherever I'm going, maybe underneath that rear window and underneath the, on the header here, something like that, just so that I can touch it. I've set it up on jack stands. It's tight on all the jack stands. It doesn't necessarily need to be level. It just needs to come down straight. The precision is going to be within the width of the saw blade and how well I put the tape on. But I would venture a guess that for a 19, whatever this is, 30, 29 Chrysler, 30 Dodge, that it winds up being well within the tolerances of back then. And I think over the course of this whole build, I'm bringing the tolerances closer than they ever were. So without further ado, I'm going to begin. I'll keep you posted. Okay, that's got a blade stuck in it, to which the stress is now out of there. So try to get that. What? Moving too much?
Battery.
Battery's dead. Short. Let me just get around a better angle. He's off.
Okay.
Yep.
Are they all off now?
Just the front. I already did the front, didn't I?
I don't know.
I don't remember. And last but not least. So in theory, very little stress, and you know, have an attachment somewhere.
Right back here.
What?
Not all the way through.
Did I miss that one?
Well, it seems to be attached. So I'm guessing the answer is yeah. There.
There it is.
Ta-da.
It's a huge success. Get this out of the way.
And there it is.
Wow. So there's all the 3-inch pieces and parts that I cut out. Basically cut around the tape line. Remember, it was 2 7/8 on a couple vids back, couple of shots back. Just stay on the tape line, right? And then you get 2 widths on the blade. I mean, you don't need a precise 3 inches, but everything seemed to cut, you know, when you do it that way. You know, you can't arguably, okay, so that's 2 3/4. And then he's getting, and that's a long shot, 2 13. 2 13. So I'll have probably a little goose trimming on the long runs, but I mean, that's a 16th to an 8. Okay, and I am forward. Just so you know, I am forward a little bit here. You'll see that in the back. But I'm going to run around now with a Sharpie and mark where it's touching. Because, you know, I got it easily a blades width here. So I'll mark the spots that I want to cut. This one is completely off. That one is completely off. Same with, well, we'll go over there. I got it. It's not on the lift right now. So somewhere in here, probably on the inner structure, I got to take a little bit off because it looks like I got a gap all the way around the, oh, right there. There he's touching. That's all light. That's all light. So this, very clearly, he's got a little bit of a taper, so I'll clean that up. I got light over there. And a gap on that one, and I'm touching on that one. So I'm going to run around with a Sharpie and mark where it's touching. Clearly here, you can see, I don't know if this was the one that I was holding, but I'll just have to run a cutoff wheel through here. Yeah, because this one's got the gap, but I mean, this is touching here. Rear window gets a lot smaller, but the nice thing is everything lines up. Yeah, I gotta do a little working and torquing, just a little bit, you know, but he's 90 degrees, these straight post vehicles, of course, are the easiest chops in the world. But I didn't get the vehicle for the chop, but I did get the chop for the vehicle because I think it looks so much cooler. See how the windows are no longer square, they're rectangles, turn sideways. I think that's just darling. So, making some good progress. Mark it out, zip cut off the excess material, go up and down and up and down and up and down until I get best possible fit, and then start tacking it up. Hey guys, so now I'm into welding everything up. I've got the back completely welded. I pulled the doors off. I've got these posts completely welded. And I've got this exterior side welded. Moving to this side, and then I'll pull the doors off and finish the inside, and then start doing on all the doors. Doors will have to be mounted to do them, so yeah, just to make sure the frames all line up in that. It's a long process, a lot of posts. Okay, well, the front doors now are welded. 90% of the doors are welded. Anyway, I got the insides, and I got some of it ground. This is probably finished ground with a little feather fill going in, because he's under. And that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to touch on, if I can find a straight edge. So I go in with feather fill, and using a straight edge, to which I am struggling finding. Right there it is, right now. So, you know, and all these posts are straight, but I'm trying to find a happy medium. I want to touch up there, and I want to touch down there, and I don't want to have a lot of material in there. So there's that post. You can see this post. You know, I might need to trying to hold it. You know, I might need to put a little bit of ting in there, and then the door. So I have to weld the inside of the door because I have to take the door off to do it. But that's what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to accomplish the minimum amount of, the weld's going to deform the metal. This one's got a little bit more at the weld. This could probably be hammered out a little bit, but it's not that far once I get in behind there. And then this is the door. But that's a little well and about the width of the grind, basically all the way through. And I try to keep an eye on what I am doing so that you certainly don't want to build up a thick edge on the door, right? In this case, I'll probably ting this out. I want a metal edge and I want the thickness to be consistent all the way down on the edge of the door. And then as I go in and I'll fill that. Same thing on the backs of the doors. Same thing. Right, you want to touch this one. Radius is a little bit. It's got a little bit of maybe it's high, probably high below and above my weld. So I'll do a little bit more work on that. But that's basically what I'm trying to accomplish each and every time. Is not to get a bunch on there, a bunch of filler on there, but to try to get it as close to level as possible. Now, I want to put a band of fiberglass reinforced material on all of the welds. So you have to have a little bit of thickness, not a ton, because I want to make sure that I'm filling in any voids. If there's pinholes or anything of that nature, I want to fill them in with that resin. So it's a fun job. It's a long job. It's repetitive. I don't like repetitive. But at the end of the story, if I break it up, in this case, it's been about 5-6 hours. If I break it up, among other things, I can keep my sanity and plug away on it. So I walked away several times, come back, and addressed it. So I'm almost there. I got the rear doors to do. They're sitting over there. And I'll have to put those back on. Then I'll line them up with the front doors and tack them. Get them about as welded as the front doors. And then I'll have to pull the whole works off just to get the inside of the jamb here and here on everything. Well, of course, the rear is done. But that's what we got.